Welcome back, Space Cadets, to JayInSpace. Today I'm going to be talking about my top 10 all-time favorite films as a film nerd. And yeah, so before we get into it, if you want to garden, medicate, whatever your preference is, go ahead and do that before we get started here. Cheers. Okay. These are not really in a best to worst order or anything like that. I love them all equally, like they're my children. But I'm going to start with number 1. I have Mother. I'll put up, on the screen. I've only seen this movie twice. I still vividly remember the first time I watched this movie. I was so overwhelmed by it that it triggered a panic attack. It's a very intense, like, psychological thriller horror movie. It's not really a thriller, it's a horror movie. And I will probably watch it one more time eventually for this channel, and then probably never again, because there's some scenes that I just cannot watch again. But I'm also obsessed with it. I love the religious parallels. I love just how batshit crazy they went with it. It's unlike any movie I've ever seen before. So that's at number 1. At number 2, a hard left, is Lady Bird. I love Lady Bird. I watch it every time I'm going through a transition. I watch it every time I have to pack. I watch it every time I'm sad. It's just like my ultimate comfort movie. I love that I just love the stories where nothing big really happens. It just kind of follows life. Lady Bird was one of the first movies I watched that was like that, and that became one of my favorite favorite genre, like coming of age. At number 3, we have Poor Things. This movie kind of helped change my brain chemistry a little bit. I know a lot of people didn't like it because there's sex in it, and every time there's a lot of sex in a movie, people either love it or hate it. But I think the people that didn't like it missed the point. I watched a interview with Emma Stone, and she was like, the character Bella is a character, like, without shame. And it's exploring what that would be like with, like, living life without shame and viewing everything through a lens of curiosity and non-judgment, just taking things as they are, not putting positive or negative values on life. And it's a really important film to me. I watch it every time I'm down as well. I rewatch these movies all the time. And yeah, if you haven't seen it, I definitely recommend it. It's definitely a weird movie, but that's why I like it. I like how weird it is. Plus, you got William Dafoe in it. He slayed. Emma Stone, she slayed. At number 4, we have The Diary of a Teenage Girl. Also a controversial film. This film follows a 15-year-old girl and her journey as she starts having sex, and it's with a 35-year-old man because she gets groomed. I think it handles a dark topic very well. It's set in the 70s, which is part of the reason why I love it. The film just has such a good, like, vibe to it, and such a beautiful aesthetic. And it's an important story to tell, and as someone who has been like abused by men, it's even more important because it's very realistic. But it's also probably one of my biggest comfort movies as well. I rewatch this one all the time. It's just, yeah, it feels very real, and I relate to the main character a lot. At number 5, we have the only sci-fi on the list, which is Annihilation, my favorite sci-fi movie ever. It's the only movie that I've seen that does cosmic horror well. Lovecraftian horror. That's the vibe. It explores something that's alien and so unique that I haven't seen in another film. Um, but the story is amazing. The pacing is really good, and then it's just such a cool idea. This idea that everything inside the shimmer is mutating in a way, and the main character is like, it's not good or bad, it was changing everything. It's just, so good. Delicious. At number 6, we have Everything Everywhere All at Once, which you probably have heard of. If you haven't, you need to watch it ASAP. This is also a movie that changed my brain chemistry in how to view life and the balance between hope and despair, you know? Just such a cool, creative film. Such a cool idea of like the multiverse, and I just love it. I'm thinking about it right now, and I just love it so much. It's such an important movie that came out, and I love that, again, that they just went as weird as possible with it. I love movies that do that. Like, yeah, that's what art is for. Getting fucking weird with it. At number 7, we have The Royal Tenenbaums. I am a big Wes Anderson girly. I love all of his films, but this one is my favorite. Moonrise Kingdom was close. I also really love that one. But there's something about The Royal Tenenbaums that just sucks me in. It's just so raw, and I love how character driven it is, and the flip of kids acting like adults and then adults acting like kids. And just, yeah, it just makes my heart happy. At number 8, I have Sorry to Bother You. This movie is such an important movie. It's about truly the horrors of capitalism. It's so relatable to today. Like, every year it gets more and more relatable. Every time I watch it, I'm like, fuck, this really is how it is. And the way that they explore racism, and how the main character is too black and not black enough for, like, and how he explores his identity, and just the idea of a white voice and having it being over, or like dubbed over with white comedians. Hilarious. It's so funny. And also, they got weird with it. They went as far as they thought they could go. And I love it. The first time I watched it, I was like blown away at how weird it was. And just how crazy it gets in the ending. At number 9, I have The Double. This one is not as popular. It's got Jesse Eisenberg in it, and he kills it. And it's this psychological thriller-esque film that follows like what would happen if a better version of you showed up. And once again, they went as weird with it as they could get. And The soundtrack is incredible. With all these movies, they have good soundtracks, but this one, definitely recommend this one. I can't recommend this one enough. The soundtrack alone is just so funky, and it's another like capitalist hellscape type situation, so it's also very relatable. And our last one at number 10 is Girl Asleep, which is the first indie film I ever saw. I saw it at an art house, and it was the movie that really got me into film and wanting to make films. It follows this girl who's turning 15, um, and she runs away into the woods and kind of falls into this fantasy world that explores leaving behind childhood and the impact that our parents have on us, and the fact that our parents are just people, and coming to terms with growing up. So that's my list. There are my top 10 favorite films of all times. Definitely recommend watching them if you haven't seen any of them. I'm not sure what they're all on, but I'm sure they're out there somewhere. So, yeah, that's all I have for today. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next Friday. Goodbye.